Hey everybody, it's Heidi from Tarot Times with Heidi, and I just finished having a gong cha ceremony with a good friend, Adrian Sinclair, and he's kind of like a big time tea nerd, and so he just info dumped on me all this cool tea stuff. But one thing he really stressed was when you are facilitating a gong cha ceremony, you do have to like be really clear that this is one, an open ceremony, and two, that it's not a spiritual ceremony. Like Cha Dao, very different spiritual ceremony. But gong cha, the purpose is just to enjoy the tea and have a good time. If you want to eat in gong cha, have a smoke, eat a candy, chat. Totally fine. You're not going to ruin a Gongpucha ceremony. If you want to work at the same time as doing a Gongpucha, that's totally fine. I was even doing Reiki during my Gongpucha. Apparently, that's not a big deal either. Gongpucha is really just about the brewing of the tea. It's not a spiritual ceremony. You don't have to like do a certain thing in Gongpucha. You can just kind of enjoy it. So when you are facilitating a gongpucha, do explain that like yeah, it is like that yeah, there are like recommendations. Like let the host, let the host explain the ceremony. But like even that's not a hard and fast rule with Gongpucha. It's really like that's my preference as the tea host. If I'm hosting, I wanna host. Like I wanna explain the ceremony. I wanna have a certain control over my wet board. But even some Gongpucha tea servers, like they don't really care if you're taking things off their wet tray. I do. I care. But if you don't care, you don't have to care, you know? Whereas with Chat Out, if you are there to facilitate the silence and no one speaks in the silence. Even if something disastrous happens, it's supposed to exercise your spiritual control, exercise your ability to stay in presence and meditate even when something bad happens, like something breaks or the tea host has to like fix something. You like it's a spiritual exercise to let the host kind of and hold space and be in that meditative space. Whereas like honestly with Gong Pucha, you can do anything with the Gong Pucha ceremony and it will still be considered a Gong Pucha ceremony as long as you are brewing the tea in the way. Like you're using the little clay Chinese teapot and you're putting the hot water on the leaves and putting the hot water on the teacup. And then if you want to use a fairness cup and a sieve, you can use that. You don't even have to. You don't even have to do that. You don't need a teapot. You don't even need a wet tray. You can just use a Pyrex with tea cloth in there. The only thing that really makes a Gong Pucha ceremony is putting the water on the tea leaves and then putting the water on the clay teapot and then pouring it. Like you can, like I leave little brew time. I pour it and then I serve it right away. But as the tea leaves get weaker and weaker, then I have more and more brew time. But really, that's like it's really about that. That's the thing that makes the Gong Pucha ceremony is not really about doing anything else. So like the last Gong Pucha ceremony I did with some friends, one person didn't want a lot of tea, and so she just kept her teacup on her little plate that I gave her, and when she was done, she put it on the wet tray, and but then she just kind of dipped. Like it wasn't like you didn't have to wait for everyone to put their cups on the wet tray before you make the next brew. Like if they're slow drinkers, you can just continue on brewing for yourself, and then when they're ready, they can put their I'm just making kombucha at the same time. Then they can just put their cups on your wet tray, and then they can just join whatever round you're in. Like there is whereas like chat out, like you wait for everyone to be finished their cups to put them on the chassis, and then you fill them up again and then give them to the people, and you have to wait like you have to have three times together before you can speak. And then even on the other rounds, like you yeah, you're supposed to drink tea together. You're supposed to wait for everyone to be drinking and then you can add the next round because it's a spiritual tea ceremony. You're doing it together and you're doing it with like a lot more precision, whereas Gongpu cha is like so loose and dirty compared to cha dao, so loose and dirty. It's really just about brewing a good cup of tea and enjoying it socially with other people. So whatever you feel is natural for you, and whatever you feel your own tea flow is, that's really the main thing. It's just about brewing a good cup of tea. And some Gongfu cha people like want to measure out the exact tea, want to have it steep for a certain amount, want the temperature to be a certain amount. I just have this teapot and it just brews black tea at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. That's perfect. I press the button, I brew it on that, and I don't measure out my tea anymore. I know how much I like to drink it at, and really that's you take the amount of tea that you want to taste. So some people have less tea leaves and it's lighter taste. I really like a lot of tea, as you've found out, and so I like strong tea. But yeah, you can. Gongfu cha is kind of the Wild West of Chinese tea ceremonies. It's really just about brewing the tea, and whatever else you do with that Gongfu cha ceremony is really up to you. So. Yeah, you could be playing a game of cards at the same time as Gong Pucha. You could be doing like Adrian was like, yeah, I like to do my like super boring business work while I'm doing Gong Pucha because I can like get really crunchy and then drink a cup of tea, get really crunchy, drink a cup of tea. And honestly, I've been doing the same thing. So it felt really good to hear it from Adrian because he's been in the tea world like a decade and a half more than me, so. But just to be really clear, when you're facilitating Gongpucha, just because, especially if you're a Caucasian person, it is really important to really stress that this is not a spiritual tea ceremony because there's been so much appropriation of other cultures, especially spiritual cultures, like yoga just as fitness or like dreadlocks or showing up to Shambhala in like a headdress, really fucked up shit, basically. So you do have to, like, it's part of the repair work, honestly, of anyone that's doing these sort of like it is from a Chinese tradition. We do want to honor that tradition. And it's important just to be like, hey, just to let you know, this isn't a spiritual thing. This is just about tea. If you want to have a smoke, if you want to leave, if you want to come back, if you want to eat a sandwich, you just go ahead. The only thing that's important is that you have a good time and you enjoy the tea. And that's it. And so you do want to kind of like give that spiel beforehand, just because there have been so many traditions that have been abused and misused. And so it's really important to be like, this is what this ceremony is about, and this is how we honor it. And so, like, you are honoring it if you're doing your work and doing Gongkucha. You are honoring it if you're having a chocolate bar and you're doing Gongkucha. You are honoring it if you're just doing a strictly Gongfucha. Gonggucha. Like it's all good. What is considered honoring or dishonoring would be not brewing the tea properly. That would, if you don't brew the tea properly, that would be considered dishonoring to the ceremony, but not doing anything in the ceremony. You can do whatever you want with the ceremony, but you do have to brew the tea and use the teapot and use, you know, that's that's what honors the Gongkucha. So when you are serving, you have to be clear about that too, just because people will want to know. And you can just really say, like, listen, this isn't a spiritual ceremony like chat out. This is just social. You're just here to enjoy the tea, enjoy yourself. There's no rules. I mean, there are preferences, tea person. Like, generally, no one else touches the wet tray but you, the tea host. That's a general rule. Most people serve by that. Most generally, the tea host is the one that explains the ceremony. That is, most people agree with that. But even tea host, that might change. You might find someone that doesn't care for that, doesn't care about it. Another thing that you'll find out if you're getting deep into tea is that if you are invited to do tea ceremony with someone else, you bring your own cup. So if you do Gongpucha, you bring your own cup. like your favorite. Like most people have like Adrian has like a daily cup he uses, whereas I rotate through my cups. But I would, if I was having kombucha with him, I would bring my cup with me. And you also bring a gift to the person if you're going to someone else to have kombucha, you bring a gift as like a thank you. So Adrian bought me some like really cool tea that was hard to get and it's super mineralized and kind of pricey. So that was really nice. So yeah, that's a little more about kombucha, but yeah, it's really important to clarify that like you can be doing anything with a gong pucha ceremony. It's just about how you brew the tea and about enjoying the tea and making a good cup of tea. Uh, yeah, yeah. The rules are much more important with Chado because it's a spiritual focus and it's all about the layout. You know, it's a meditative program basically. So that's something to think about. I hope you all have an awesome day. I hope this wasn't overkill, me just coming in and popping in and just adding another video. But it really just struck me when Adrian was talking about that, just because he's been serving tea for so many years that like, yeah, I should probably make this visible. All right, take care. Be well. If you have any questions or you want to know more about like anything, you just let me know and I will answer them for you. All right, take care. Be well. Bye, everyone.